connect to the pure raw energy of itself, and all of this just disappears.
Holy
right?
fuck, I need to get that one. That was good.
Alright, well, let's go again on that. You gotta ask me the question, man, because
Okay.
otherwise, you know, it comes out differently. So now, as I lost my thread, so what was the point before that we started it on?
Stillness. And
Oh, not just stillness.
silence. Disconnecting from your thoughts is connecting to the universe.
Yeah, but also
Impeccability.
right. The
How
point that
that's
we're
real
making is
ethical.
about the end point of life, where we're heading with this, is to unhook from the description part of life. And you were saying that life,
Energy and soul.
right, energy and soul. It's not just the physical thing. So yes, so when we get we get all our shit together. In other words, we get to that point where we don't need to figure stuff anymore, and we have that unity, the oneness of the world, and we're at peace, we're content, we're satisfied, we have joy. We don't need to be thinking and figuring it out. And when we get that unity, that oneness with life, the description silences. We don't need this description anymore to learn our lessons. We can now unhook from this and connect directly to the energy of the universe. And that's the end point of almost all the spiritual or religious teaching. To be one with God, to have nirvana, satori, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. Because when you have the no longer need this particular description and you stop that incessant description inside your head, you get to silence, and then you see the logic of it all. You see the magnificence and the awesome.
Boom.
Yeah, boom. You transcend
yeah.
the physical. Right, that's the key, the end result. You transcend the physical. Don't need it anymore. We don't need these lessons. We've kind of learned our lessons. We understand what it's all about. We're at peace with the world. We see the awesomeness of the world.
Woo! All right, we can go now.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Stop thinking, meditate your whole life. Got it.
Yeah.
It's
Because
nice
we're
to
basically
know, and
schooling
again,
our
right.
energy.
And you see what I mean
Just-
now? It's when we do the things, I really want to reshift the whole course to do it backwards. Because if we see that
The
as the
attunement.
end goal that we understand, now we see the logic of living in attunement. Because living in attunement, and especially the alignment and with anomalies, that little triangle, acting without agenda, is part of that, four of them really, is that we are saying we are in attunement. Why? Because when I do that, I get to use my energy to best effect, and through anomalies and through life in general, I get to learn the precise lessons that are needed for me. Everything that's coming at me, it's there for a reason. It's for me to learn something. And that's the whole key. Now I'm completely in tune with this whole path that I'm on, which is learn, raise your awareness, raise your awareness, up until the point that you don't need this mechanism of learning more. Okay, I get it now,
The
I
body.
understand, and then I can let it
You
all
don't need the body.
It's a tool that is, it's like the tool.
Because we're
which is
schooling
ladder
the
of
energy.
Right,
We're schooling our energy
right.
so that we can
Right.
move into
Right.
that.
Right, so thinking
This
is
is like kindergarten.
exactly. So thinking is kind of, you could say it's like a tool that when you get to the point, it's a self-defeating tool in the end. Right? It just gets you a point and then you can disregard it, you don't need it anymore.
I have a more catchy title for your course.
All right.
How to Live the Life of a Guru.
Yeah, I guess so, you know, all the
Become one with
spirit
the
warriors.
universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because look, the gurus, the yogis, right? They learned to unhook. They knew how to. When they got to a point where they wanted to move on, they just untied the knot.
Right. The only problem I have with guru, and that is that it has such a connotation of self-importance to it. You know, I have a little post somewhere that I probably should work on and post one day. I said, all right, so if I have if you're a kid and you're ambitious and you say, all right, what would be the most ideal thing to be? And you say, you know, what would that be? What would be the noun for somebody who's basically got their shit together? There isn't actually such a word. I searched high and low. Yes, there's,
Self-actualized.
right, but a noun. You can't say
What
I
would
want
you
to
call
be a
that
self-actualized. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
What is the noun for that? Like I said, if you say, okay, I want to be a saint, but the saint is stated because it has that
Yeah.
Religious connotation.
religious connotation, and also it's in
Let's
service.
create one. The essay.
Right,
So
right,
actually,
right.
essay.
the essay. Essay. Right, but all the others would be that you have the typical superlatives of being as an ambition that you could say, or as an aspiration rather than an ambition. That's the problem. They're all connected to
sadhu.
ambition in some sense. Right, sadhu a little bit, yes.
Yeah.
but like a saint or a guru or a wizard or anything. But typically they almost always have some kind of an ego connotation, which is what guru does. People have there's a self-important connotation. I'm a teacher of somebody. I'm not necessarily teaching anybody. I just want to have I want to aspire to be whatever it is to where you have your shit together. So.
Aspirant.
Well, I use aspirant in the new nobility. They are the aspirants. You're an aspirant until you become a new noble. But the new nobility themselves, even though they technically become one, because now they're actually a full employee of the corporation, they still regard themselves as perpetual aspirants.
How
So
about a one?
sadhus become
A one?
gurus?
Just
Yeah.
be a one.
How about Neo? The
Neo.
one.
A one.
Yeah,
Matrix.
oneness with
One.
disconnected.
Right. But again, it doesn't have a ring and a catch
Like,
for as
like if you had,
I
like
say, I
kids
want to
starting
aspire
school.
to be a one.
Yeah.
One. You know what one means? Truth.
There
There
you
can
go.
only be one.
Right, exactly, and all. No, and it's nice in the saying of it, but it doesn't. It just what fascinates me is not necessarily that I have to have it. What fascinates me is that there is this complete gap in the language. That's the part that's intriguing. That we actually do not have an aspiration of something to a noun for that. We got nouns for also. You can be a leader, you can be a guru, you can be a teacher, but they're all ego connected. You know what I mean? And also they're relative to other connected. I want to just I want to get to my own self, and I want to be transcendent, you know what I mean, or whatever. I want to be self-actualized.
I want to be
This
real.
Right. Well, the actual term for it would be a Buddha. That's the
that's
actual,
true.
really the term
Yeah.
for it. Right.
But that also denotes that religion.
Kind of, but
Well, Buddhism is a philosophy.
Right. And that's
True
the sad
Buddhism.
part. Right, exactly.
True,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, because Buddha's, yes, they do worship
They
and
have
pray
all
to the
these-
Buddha, but Buddha would be horrified at that, and he's very specifically made it clear that that's not the deal. He's trying to teach you to be a Buddha, like him. There's other Buddhas. He's not the only Buddha. So that's the whole goal of. So Buddhism is a philosophy. It's not a
So
religion.
can we create a new one that has,
A synonym for Buddha, exactly.
that doesn't have that praising
Right,
connotation?
exactly.
What is Buddha?
That's what I'm saying. We have to create it because, like I said, I went through everything. I mean, I really researched this high and low. Like Paragon was, I got all sorts of wild words.
But that's a paragon of virtue.
right.
This,
But
that.
well, you can be.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Looking at
Let's create our
all.
own word. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm
Well,
saying. At the
language
end
is
of the
alive,
day,
yeah.
I couldn't find a word.
Let's create one.
Right. We'll just leave it for now. We'll kind of leave it and let it surface. Part of it is like spirit warrior is potentially that.
Mm.
So it is built into our self-conception, right? Because that is exactly the whole point of a spirit warrior, is that you're going to be on your path, and when you get there, the end of a spirit warrior's path, they're going to drop off the warrior path and just going to be spirit.
How about a duba?
It sounds too much like a doofus. That's cool. I love this. I love that that's coming up. It would be nice to take a word that has some meaning to it as well.
Buddha?
Buddha.
Duba, yeah.
Goomba?
Adub.
A dub?
Yeah,
Are you a dub?
Adub.
Are you a dubus?
Dubus Maximus.
I do. I was thinking of Doom. Somehow that seems like a
Mr.
name that would be in Doom.
You gotta be
This guy.
impeccable.
That's your new Instagram handle.
Mr. Impeccable.
Thank you very much. Oh man, that would be nice. I mean, to be that. It's an idea, we want to really. I was just saying, the word really is spirit warrior works.
What do you mean to be that? Does that mean in this quest is always to be aspiring to?
It feels that way.
It's, because it's a constant refinement.
Yeah. It's.
So then it's a philosophy,
Pretty.
a way of life.
Oh,
that
A
you
way
can't.
A process.
Right.
We constantly process.
I mean, to apply impeccability, you want to get to that point where you do it innately. It doesn't have. There's no consciousness involved. It's just automatic.
Effortless.
So.
Yeah.
Right. So.
It's like breathing.
Right. So when he said, from my personal point of view, I feel like that I have to think about it, I have to be deliberate. It's like, so it's not innate, it's not automatic.
Yes.
There's not no thought
It's
involved.
not
It's
like
automatic.
Does that mean the conditioning that we
Oh
have to
yeah,
overcome
lots
is
of
too strong?
conditioning involved. Oh hell yeah. Unlearning that's the biggest part of everything, changing the habits and feeling it in the body specifically. I work on that every day, and that takes a lot of doing. At least
And
I
your
would figure it out the
meditation.
quicker
Yeah,
way.
more water,
Yeah.
dude.
Right.
More water.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe you can transform all that water with.
With the thinking. Yeah, it's possible. Because it's an intent management issue. That particular. I don't even like to use the word meditation. It's an intent repurposing
Yeah.
activity or practice. We'll get into it. It comes in
Yeah.
the next one. So.
All right.
All right. Exemplification of being.
Perspectives and insights into being a spirit warrior.
Right. Can you see over there, Vaz?
Life panic.
The back part down a little bit.
Life panic
Yeah.
is lack of trust, which is lack of self-trust, which is lack of self-confidence, and lack of self-assurance, resulting in lack of joy, and unempowers us from insights of the new nobility. What is that, a book of yours?
That's the be part of the
Oh, it's just, the way you read it was a little bit cockeyed. It's a quote and you just read it as one sentence. You read, and unempowers us from insights of the new ability.
Right.
Why? It's
Yeah, sorry, I didn't pause there. But
yeah, it's okay. Because I was like, wow, I was like, did I put that in there? It doesn't make any sense. It's just from Insights of the New Ability. It's a
Which
quote
is
from one of the books, yeah.
One of your books,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
The
So
Well, it's actually one of
Well,
the supplemental ones.
Yes.
I understand why you would put that in there, but like overall, that is a fictional work, right?
Correct. It doesn't matter. It's just,
People are gonna, if people understand what that is, they're gonna connect what they're learning to fiction, and I don't think that's a good thing.
Well, the philosophy
All right,
is
maybe in that context, in this context though, I'm just saying, from where I'm looking at for people, it's like, it doesn't matter where it comes from really necessarily. It's just there's a little clue that's saying there's a bit more to it, because we do bring in some of the nobleness concept into it. So I don't want to disconnect from it entirely.
From your awareness,
But,
yeah. that
right,
makes
but
sense,
we do need to be able to take quotes for their own self. We want to have that ability to discern them regardless of where they come from. I'm going to change that to say, insights from Joe on the corner, the homeless guy, whatever, you know what I mean?
Can I ask you why you put it in negative terms rather than turning it around into positive terms, saying what empowers us is, and then reverse?
Right. Well, because I want to specifically deal with life panic and what it's the missing to say. Because that's where so many come from and they don't know why they're in life panic.
There's a lot of anxiety in society.
Anxiety.
Precisely.
Which is lack of
Precisely.
self-trust.
Right, exactly. And that's why I was trying to specifically connect it to where
Connection.
people are coming
From a
from.
point of awareness,
Yeah.
you have to understand your negatives and your positives in order for you to be able to replace the negatives with positives.
But now that I'm looking at this, I'll
Yes,
actually
Mr.
take
Myles.
out, I'll just leave it as a quote.
Generalizes.
And take out
we're in the company of masters. We're in good company.
Right, right. I'll take out the attribution.
Yeah, at least additional questions, huh?
Well, I don't mind that necessarily, because I do want to just kind of, in terms of the same thing as a spirit warrior, that is how that whole new nobility kind of came about. One of the paths for it, it's that is a potential aspiration. Okay, I want to be a new noble. Well, I
This
want
is
to
a
be
new term
noble.
to me, new nobility. New nobility, so I'm not quite sure, what are you talking about here?
Right,
So it's
right,
new on me.
right,
Noble.
right,
Being noble.
right. It's just a from though. It's just a quote from somewhere. So
Right.
I didn't think that would make such
It
a.
throws me off a little bit.
That's interesting. To me, it's just okay. I'm just saying where the quote comes from. That's all, really.
Yeah.
Attribution. Yeah. But the new nobility, though, as a concept, now you bring that up in the takeaway session, and that becomes a nice little talking point. Because this isn't specifically focusing on new nobility in itself or nobility, but we do want to say, hey, there is an extra that you can go. You can be impeccable and not necessarily go for nobility, and it doesn't affect your impeccability at all. But if you so wish to, you can follow that bar. It's a bonus that you can go over and above.
It's a
So it's just saying it's an option, so it does open that door a little bit.
Which comes back to what Myles was saying earlier about, we were talking about,
Right.
well, this is, it's
Right.
process.
Right, now you see
It's
what
a
comes in.
never-ending journey.
Right, it comes in, this is sort of why I like to have it, and there's a couple of little references to them in a little bit. Because look at what Myles is engaged in. It's a noble endeavor, is it not?
Noble an endeavor with no stopping point.
It is, it's a noble
Yeah,
endeavor.
it's
There's
never
just-
ending.
So when you realize that and you're aware of that, now stuff starts to fall into place.
And
So-
also the self-leverage involved.
Right. So it's not so specifically a necessary element and part of the way of impeccability, but it's that extra bonus. Now, particularly since this is pretty much geared to coaches, CEOs, top level people. say, you want to really change like your corporate culture, bring in that element of mobility. Man, now you're going to have, not only does it motivate and empower people, it stimulates them and it energizes them. It really is incredibly transformative. It's a very, very big deal. So it's not idle that I bring that in entirely, but it's not necessarily the focus of it, because you don't have to go there. Again, if you're just in this and you want to get your own life together and you want to be connected to meaning, purpose, and fine. That's all you got to do is just live way of impeccability, get to attunement, and fine. Now you attune with life and everything falls into place. Mobility doesn't have to be a focus.
So mobility implies a mission.
A choice, a deliberate choice to go more.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. It's not necessarily a mission, but it's a deliberate choice to do more. You don't have to do what you're doing. You find other ways to make money. Add a job, right? I have to see why your job had some spiritual significance to the symbolicness of it. Was pretty cool.
Say that again?
Remember when you said what you did before, and you said what it was, and then I said, what's the symbolically, what is that? What did you do before? You said, I forget. Whatever you did before.
You mean for work?
The job.
Oh,
yeah,
logistics.
Right, but you said something else, logistics. Something logistics.
Sales.
Sales of logistics, is that what you said? Selling logistics, selling logistics, that's what you said, right. I said if you take that in a symbolic way, isn't that exactly what you're doing now also? Selling logistics. Same thing.
He's selling inspiration.
Then
Right.
think about we're transporting people's perspectives from one to another.
There you go.
And the logistics of getting your shit together, getting real.
And what's really cool is, as you go through this, you are evolving, you're growing, you're learning,
Right.
and you're sharing.
Right.
That's cool.
That's why the new nobility regard themselves as perpetual aspirants.
Ah, yeah.
New nobility culture is an oral culture, just by the by. And all they do every day is exactly what we're doing now.
Yep.
That's pretty much what they do. Anything they do, it's all about the learning and the growing. Doesn't matter whether they're playing, whatever, art, everything is all about advancement. It all revolves around. But particularly with that twist of nobility too, because they do go and do stuff in the greater scheme of things. There is a more to it. There is a more to it.
More to everything.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. Wow.
Self-trust, self-confidence, and self-assuredness are founded on what? On knowing everything? Absolutely not. And on what?
Yeah, and on what?
They're all rooted in the reliance on our ability to do, adjust, figure out, be appropriate, be sensible. On our sobriety, our patience, our humility, our energy, and ability to learn. On our trust in our intent to goodness, our unrelenting positivity, our perpetual awareness, and of course, our indisputable impeccability.
There you go. Oh, very basic and obvious. I don't know, put a little pause on here in terms of a sidetrack to the posts and comments of positivity and unrelentingly positive. We are taking positivity to a meta level, an abstract level. And it's not like the positivity of good and bad. We are saying, hey, I'm going to make use of all my abilities. So I'm my shadow side and my light side, I'm going to make use of all of them as appropriate. In that way, I'm going to get a positive value out of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that you're transcending that dichotomy through making a unity. I'm saying in the shift of perspective to an overview perspective, suddenly all that lower level, positive and negative, I'm going to get positivity out of all of it because I'm now looking at it from this top-down point of view. It's a kind of a subtle point. It's difficult to communicate, but we have to say, hey, you can get positive value out of any negativity. You just learn from it. That's the positive value. When you learn from it, you're getting positive value out of it. So it's that kind of positivity that we're talking about when we're being unrelentingly positive. We're going to insist on getting use and value. That's why that use and value is in the dictionary of power and they're capitalized.
Mm-hmm.
We're always insisting on getting use and value. No matter. That's why it's unrelenting positivity, which means we insist on getting the more out of everything. Always.
There's an expression that applies to the previous slide, and this one is, it's either going to work out or it's going to work out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Trust
exactly.
others.
And that is at root what positivity is. It is the trust that things will work out.
Yep.
If you didn't have that trust, you're going to stop learning. End of story.
because there's a lesson in everything.
Exactly. But things will work out. Fundamentally we believe that the universe is positive.
And it may not work out exactly as you envision.
It never does. That's the magic of it. It almost
Right.
never does this because there's always more. That's why it never
Yes.
works out. This is always more. We are too limited in our imaginations to figure out. When things eventually work out, there's always a more to it. And when we start to click to that more, when they don't work out, we say, ooh, let me look at the fullness of how come it didn't quite work out. And then you look at the
Right.
variations. So you say, oh, okay, oh, wow, okay.
And if you don't have an attachment to the outcome,
Wow.
you're more willing to look at it from that perspective.
Exactly. Right. We have that openness to being able to extract them all. But we want to be preemptive, that's why we insist on extracting them. We want to be ahead of the game. We don't want to be learned after the fact. We don't want the universe to be slapping us around and kind of booting us up the path. No, we want to be ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I want to go through life expecting miracles
Exactly.
and appreciating when I do.
Not just expecting, insisting.
Consistent.
All right. Yeah, that hairstyle reminds me of Tintin. I was just thinking if you were blonde, you could be Tintin.
Which hairstyle?
Myles.
Hmm?
The fringe. Tintin in Afrikaans is called
Oh.
Keifie, and Keifie means a fringe.
Talking about my hair?
Not
Yeah, I was
quite a
thinking of
fringe.
Tintin. As if you're blonde, I could call it Tintin.
Mm.
But I don't know why Tintin sprang to mind, but it is.
With all this, we might say, but sometimes I just don't know, and there's not enough time to figure out or learn, then what?
Wow, exactly. good whining.
That's when we bring out capital T, trust. That's what. Because that trust is also a trust in our personal power. The trust will make things work out good, regardless of not knowing how.
We'll make them work out good. We can insist on it, right?
You know, I notice nowhere in here, I remember seeing the word faith.
Try not to. Try to stay away from what faith. I don't think it's in the course at all. Maybe a little bit, but I really do make that effort to stay away
Yeah,
from
it's,
faith.
it's interesting.
Because we want to unhook from the necessity of faith.
Right.
Because we cannot be sure about faith. Because we are ultimate strategists, I'm going to say, fine, let me put my faith aside. May or may not be. I want to be sure. I want to not leave it to chance. Faith
Right.
is leaving it to chance.
Right. Faith is trust without proof.
Exactly, leaving it to chance. Well, as ultimate strategists, we cannot leave things to chance. We want to eliminate the chance to the absolute minimum. Then, when I've done every single possible thing I can, I say, okay, I can't do any more and I need a bit more. All right, I'll use faith now. That's my, maybe faith works out. It's at least a chance.
Right.
All right, cool. Then I add my faith. Which is exactly what capital T trust is.
Right. So you have built in a practicality
Absolutely.
that can be applied.
Yes. First and foremost, the way of impeccability is about practicality, it's about application. Absolutely, that is the key. Because otherwise, we're relying on stuff that may or may not be. We want to be utterly self-reliant, don't we? Isn't that real self?
Mhm.
I'm relying on faith, which is somebody else, which is what's outside of me.
Oh yeah,
I'm relying on something that's outside of me. It's not me. It's not me, real me now.
that's my biggest issue with a lot of people spouting like, I just have faith in God and everything's gonna work out. But what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what steps are you taking to help yourself? Here?
Exactly.
Because by sitting on your ass all day, you're not gonna change your environment.
Taking a big chance. And if you just look at history and all the people who had this incurable faith and they got screwed in millions, Look at the Crusades. Millions died on both sides of the Crusade. All had faith, they all fucking died,
Yeah.
It's like when the guy wins in the match, oh, thank you God. God made the other guys all lose.
Absolutely, that's key right there. It'll work out, but you got to take action. You got to be part of life.
You gotta have an intent.
There you go.
Now, if you have true faith in God and you really think this through, doesn't God really want you to do things for yourself and be independent? Of course. God doesn't want you to be a slave and a freaking puppet and a robot.
Let me read you a quote.
Please.
God put laws in the Bible to give us the gifts of discernment and awareness to think for ourselves.
Precisely, exactly. It makes so much sense, doesn't it?
That came from you.
Well, man.
That's why it makes sense though. Just kidding.
But you know that's the things. Part of that new nobility thing. It's part of the takeaway philosophy and logic. So you'll have, let's say, a group of aspirants and a senior and noble will come and they'll sit down and they'll just hear the same stories over again because they never come out the same. So always when I hear that, something more stirs up in me and there's a more of a connectivity, and now even if it's completely unrelated but seemingly I share that and it's a different perspective on always, or it leads to something else even if it isn't directly the point. You can jumpstart it, so we can hear the same stuff over and over. It doesn't matter when we have that insistence on extracting the more and the connectivity to the more also. It doesn't matter, you hear the stuff over and over. It doesn't matter.
That's right.
Right. Plus over the longer course of time, that you don't always remember everything, so it's like a refresher. You bring it back up again. Oh man, that was such a cool point, and you remember that. Bring it back, and you live that for a while.
But also, the next time you hear it, you could be in a different place. Maybe you read a book,
always
you're
are.
thinking differently,
Exactly.
and then you hear something in the message that you didn't really understand before, or didn't take it.
Exactly.
Really understand that perspective.
Exactly. Or you say, you know what? When I first heard that, I heard it this way, and then I lived it, and now that I've been living it, it's actually, I add a little more to it. I see that it's not just in the Bible, but just in life in general. Particularly in my relationship, I said, wow, shit, why did I pick people with these particular flaws? Because they were there for me. They were precisely, exquisitely what I needed to know. Take that a little step further, you know what I mean? And it's a profound, it's like a whole different society and way of living. There's always that magic, there's always that awesome.
You attracted what you needed in order to become aware.
Exactly. But I mean, in terms of just an illustration for the new nobility interactions is what I mean. How they would take the same thing and come back at it from different angles. You can hear the same stuff over and over, it doesn't matter. It's very, because there's so much, I mean, we just starting and there's lots and lots. Very exciting. Trusting our personal power, no matter how small it may be, is part of our impeccability. Because at root, impeccability is the best use of energy. So this is our difference, the difference of our way of being, of living as a spirit warrior. Very simple. That's that. We're kind of recapping a lot of stuff now, which is cool, but it kind of sits and you can tell it. So right now it's very simple because we've really covered this many times already. We kind of jump ahead.
But when you're referring to difference, capital D, A versus B, what exactly are you referring to?
This is our difference, the fact that we are living from that way of impeccability as opposed to like living with faith. That's the difference. Is that say, hey, we understand that impeccability is the best use of energy, and in that best use of energy, we are saying that we're going to trust our personal power, and that is when you trust the personal power, it's also an impeccably good use of energy, because the moment you doubt it, don't you just dilute that trust and that intent, you kind of mess it up. So we're impeccable when we trust our personal power.
And to honor intents when they get fulfilled. Did you hear that?
Intent when it gets fulfilled.
Right. And to trust in our personal power implies we have to have an awareness. It all it all circles and interacts with one another.
Yes, and that's our difference. That we're actually aware of something like personal power. We're aware of how it works. We're aware of impeccability. We're aware that impeccability is energy management, and because of that, we understand that whole connectivity to trust and personal power. That if we don't trust with a fullness, and we doubt, in other words, then we're going to, and that's what the difference for a spirit warrior to a regular person. They trust, but it's kind of not capital T trust. They don't really have that understanding of personal power. So they trust, but they worry at the same time. And it evolves all the time.
Why do you choose the word difference?
But that's what I'm explaining now. That's the difference.
No, why do you choose the word difference?
As opposed to...
Isn't being a spirit warrior at the end result of becoming one with the universe?
Oh, man, I know our difference to just not being a spirit warrior, to just living ordinary life.
Why are we perpetuating that dichotomy?
Not necessarily perpetuating it. Maybe, I guess, in one way, but I'm also just being real. I'm saying, well, before I was a spirit warrior, I was kind of a knucklehead, you know what I mean? So, And this is the difference that why living as a spirit warrior has power for me, has value, has significance, and how it makes a difference. So I'm not necessarily saying there is a difference, I'm just saying this is what my difference is, our difference as spirit warriors. To myself, not necessarily to others.
I see your point.
I understand with you, but I don't know how to get away from it. Because otherwise you get to that problem where you're saying, well, you're okay just as you are.
Yeah, and what's the motivation for somebody to want to take this course if they think that there's no difference?
From where they
Precisely, there's that
Right,
too.
so it would have to be personal.
Right. There's a growth process. So the difference is between where you're at now and where you wish to be.
Right.
So that,
When you say our difference,
Right.
it kind of makes it seem cliquish, as in.
yeah, it does a little bit, which there is that connotation, and I do hear you. Let's see.
There's nothing wrong with it, but it
Yeah.
could give the wrong message. And I think it
Yeah,
could
no,
more
I
properly
absolutely agree with you.
communicate.
It can give the wrong message. I'll rewrite to say this is the difference.
Or this is our realization.
Well, I'll just leave out that little line. It doesn't have to be in there.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
It doesn't have to be in there. I mean, there is an understanding that we are saying that, to live as a spirit warrior, yeah, it comes, for me it's so obvious that there's no comparison in things. It's so part of a spirit warrior that you're not thinking comparatively, you're thinking relative to yourself, and our difference is living as a spirit warrior in terms of, we're talking about whoever's doing that now, saying this is our difference relative to ourselves, not necessarily relative to others.
Yes, but when you're explaining and sharing
Oh,
this
I agree with you,
you gotta be
Dave.
attuned with their way of thinking.
Oh no, I do agree that it is problematic, and
Yeah, I think what would be most appropriate is how it relates to the person learning.
what?
It's edited in the course as we're going through.
Yeah, what the hell, why not? Do it right now, why wait for later?
Instant feedback.
Do it now, is before they discover a better way, right?
How many people are looking at this slide right now?
You know what's interesting? That little quote, do it now before they discover a better way. For some reason, it came to be on the foot of my bed, in the little bookshelf type thing there. I have no idea where it came from, I was always there for years and years.
That doesn't make
That stupid little
sense.
quote, I know, but
Do it now before what?
before they discover a better way. It's like a little printed thing.
I was selling solar energy for like a month, and one of the guys was like, I don't want to do it now because they're gonna come up with a better one later.
There
I
you
was selling
go.
against it, and I was like, yeah, but even if you get one later in the future, you're still gonna have free solar energy now. You can enjoy the now.
Where's the combination?
Yeah, that's what I
But
thought.
it's true, it's like, you gotta, but there's a nice deep symbolic lesson in that. Everything has lesson. Because that's so true of everything. If you're gonna be afraid of or wait for the upgrades, you're never gonna enjoy the now. And you have to take the now knowing there's an upgrade later. So what? You just skip an upgrade, you just skip a generation.
Dude, I need a new phone. You need to get the upgrade.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's back to what we just said before, is take action.
But do it now, that's the key. That's what I took away from this. Before I discovered a better way, it didn't matter. I used to keep a little book of inventions, and I gave up on my book because I always saw them being implemented. I had a little, anyway. But to do it now thing, that did stick with me, I guess.
Do it now. You're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. Once I have them in the same
Get on the
spot.
train of life.
There we go. Done.
Well, we still have the word difference in there.
Yeah, the difference of our way of being as a spirit warrior. But that's not first of all. Our small is very spot on, because the root, impeccability is the
Delete,
major.
delete anything underneath after energy.
This is the difference of our way of being as a spirit.
This is our way of being.
Yeah,
This is our way of being as a spirit world.
this is our way of
This is the way. This is.
being. Well, I do want to make the point that is a difference to how we were before. So I have to say this is the difference from how previous to now.
That's already implied because they're here for change.
I guess so.
or this is what we learn
How about just
being...
nothing? Is the best use of our energy.
Oh, just delete the frickin' slide.
Now, personal power, smaller things.
I'm kidding.
This is the core of our way of being.
Don't maybe come after your nipples.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Show respect.
Respect your elder nipples.
I flicked his ear, so he's...
All right. Bloody hell. Bloody monkey. Used to call my employees that the knuckleheads. Bloody morons or bloody monkeys, and they just laughed at them. Didn't make any bloody difference to them. Cockeye.
How old
They
are
were
you?
fun. How old am I? Fuck alone knows. I don't know.
What year were you born? How about that?
62. So what does that make me now? I have to figure it out now. I remember for a while. That takes me a little while to forget again, bloody hell. So anyway, you can figure it out. I don't know, I'm not interested. You know what I normally answer that? I say, I'm as old as you want me to be. I can be any bloody age.
He's ageless. He's Merlin.
I'm the young man.
Mm.
Young man. I wrote that story about the gift of intent, and when I first started writing, it was really like a really deep personal story, very core story. So when I first writing it, it's like, man, it's really boring. I don't want to write I this, I that. You know, I don't like writing in first person. Sometimes I do. So I said, no, I gotta figure out a way to write this because it's a universal story.
Third person?
It's not. Yeah, so I said the young man.
Young man, yeah.
So that's where the young man starts,
Gotcha.
and then it just took on a life of its own.
Right.
Went from there. So the memoir is called the young man story. Well, there's two of them. There's the young man story and the young man story. There's the young man story does become the young man, but then at the turning point of the gift of intent, then it's the young man story.
Okay, I'm totally confused.
Oh, it don't matter. It's just that's just it's a bit of the young boy story too. It's just the different stages of my life.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So like pre-age 10 is the young boy, from age 10 to age 16 is the young man, because at age 16 was a huge, massive life shift.
The younger man.
Right, so there was the young man, and then it becomes the
So
young
did you
man.
write this for yourself?
Yeah. All my writing's pretty much always for myself. Because when you write this stuff out, you get in detail like that. I mean, it did start with, people asking me to do it, and I kind of, and then one day I'm in a conversation with somebody that I've had regular conversations with of this kind of nature, and I made some comments. Oh, that's how it all began. I said no, and then I explained a little bit, and they said, oh, that's how. No, so I had to go back and explain how it all began. So, yeah, and that was one conversation. I must have written, I think, like 250,000 words just in that conversation.
That's self-awareness.
Oh, that's
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
So I wrote this book, DTF, Death to Fuckboys,
right.
and I use the first person. But the message that I want to bring out of it is that this applies to anybody who's going through an identity shift.
But you, in that particular book, that's critical to write in first person.
What?
Because that's what makes the power of that book, is because you claim it and you own it. Because that's a book about your vulnerability and claiming and owning your shit. Whereas, the young man's story and the young man's story, there's not really much of that in it. It's more of the lessons that I've learned. So now if it's me, I learned this, and I kind of, it sounds egotistical, different.
So the pressure is on him to come up with that last chapter that leads into the reclamation, which is the idea of the second book and or course.
Yes.
Or the way of impeccability.
The way
Exactly.
of impeccability, right.
Exactly.
What did he learn from this?
Right. The next
And
book
how?
really is My Journey into Real Self. Either title or not, but that's maybe a subtitle, but that's the story. Right? That's the story. My Journey into Real Self.
Yeah, I'm struggling with trying to end the book with the last chapter and leading into whatever else.
Well, send me a copy and I'll read it.
Awesome.
I'm a really good editor too. I'll send you a both of them too. But it's all right. No, seriously. I mean, it
Yeah.
depends how I read it though. I mean, I can read it with editing too and really get into it. That's going to be that'll be slow. I don't know how much.
Just read it first. Yeah, and it's a quick read. You'll read it in like in 2 hours.
All right, okay.
So, this is really, really draft, right? Like super.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
No, this is well, it is, but I have an editor, and she made edits, so you'll be able to see where she made edits.
I mean, so, when people send me stuff to read, I can't help editing. I go like I did with your post, right? You saw that long comment that I made.
You're Virgo.
Right. I mean, the discernment comment, I do like I pull a quote and then I give a feedback on it. And also when I do editing, I say why. Most editors, they just tell you to change it, don't tell you why. I explain the rationale and then I also give like options. And I try and stay away from suggestions entirely, but sometimes you say, okay, this isn't working, maybe look for instance this or this or this, and then, then you work on it, but it has to be justified, it has to be a logic and a rationality. And you're looking over your perspective to maintain your coherence, what's your intent, what are you trying to accomplish with it. But that first person for your book is very necessary, Myles, very, very necessary. Same with your post, they first person post. This is about the sharing of your personal experience.
Yeah,
So just email it to me.
He's showing, I've been where you are, and I've managed to transform.
Right. But it's not about necessarily me saying this is what you need to do.
Right.
This is my journey and I'm
Right.
sharing it. You take from it what you want. That's the key underlying point. That's where the resonance is, like you're saying, I'm just sharing my journey, I'm just putting it out. I'm taking that step to actually put it out there, which a lot of people don't do. And they don't share it to the same depth that you do. And that's part of the power. This comes from your self-awareness. There's a lot of self-awareness in all this that's going on.
Yeah, that's
Exactly. It's a little painful, but hey, that's part of the deal. I mean, the power of that particular term, fuckboy, is that at the end of that, you realize that fuckboy means I fuck myself. There's your chapter, your end chapter.
yeah, basically.
Isn't that the end of that story?
Yep.
The end of that story is that this is not a sustainable way of being, and I've come to realize that. That's why I'm making the shift and the change, because really the only one I'm actually fucking is myself. It's in some of the writings that I saw, the quotes, it's already there. It's tied all around with the name. You're starting with it. It means one thing in the beginning of the book, at the end of the book, you're bringing them to where it means something else. Right? It's kind of cool when you have that evolution thing. Now when they think of it, Death of the Fuckboy, it's not that starting fuckboy, but the one that the self-defeating personality, in other words, right? Which is the psychology of indulgence.
Fuck myself, boy.
Exactly. That's really what it is.
And
That's your end.
the other thing that's really kind of his USP is his vulnerability.
I aspire to be an asp. I was thinking of that noun, and he said USP. So, that works like, I want to have a unique selling point for myself. So.
Wait, what now?
I was just thinking of that noun term, and you're coming up with make up a word for something to aspire to. An asp up to mind because it's USP. But it doesn't quite work.
So, what's your
SylSebastian@gmail.com. You got it. You should have it in your contacts here.
No, but it's not coming up.
SYL SABA. All A's in Sebastian.
Got it.
And is Leon your real first name or your middle name?
First name. Sebastian, my middle name.
It's Leon Sebastian.
And where did Sil come from?
It's just my gaming name, Soldonada, so they would call me Sol. And by the time I came onto the internet, more people knew me as Sol